There are moments in life that define you, moments when everything changes, when you're forced to face something bigger than yourself, something that challenges who you are and what you thought you were capable of. Those moments can feel overwhelming, terrifying even, but it's in those moments that we often discover what we're truly made of. It's in those moments that we find our real strength. My name is Emma, and this is the story of the day I found my real strength. It's not a story about victory or overcoming something huge in one grand gesture, but rather a story about learning to face fear, to stand tall in the face of uncertainty, and to finally realize that strength comes not from what you can do, but from what you can survive. Growing up, I always thought I was a pretty strong person. I wasn't the loudest or the most outgoing, but I prided myself on being someone who could handle things on my own. I didn't like asking for help, and I certainly didn't want to appear weak. I had always been taught that strength meant not showing weakness, that the stronger you were, the less you had to rely on others. But life has a way of challenging those ideas, of throwing you into situations that make you question everything you thought you knew. And it wasn't until the hardest moment of my life that I truly understood what strength really meant. It all started when I was in my second year of college. I was balancing schoolwork, a part-time job, and trying to maintain a semblance of a social life. It wasn't easy, but I managed. I had a plan, and I was determined to stick to it. My family was always supportive, and I knew I had their love and encouragement behind me, but I was still learning how to be independent, how to take care of myself. Everything changed one night. It started like any other evening. I had just gotten home from my job at a local coffee shop and was getting ready to study for an exam. The stress of finals had started to pile up, and I was feeling overwhelmed, but nothing that I couldn't handle. But as I sat down to open my textbooks, my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from my mom. "Emma, I need you to come home. Something's happened with Dad." My heart sank. My dad had always been my rock, the one person I could rely on no matter what. He was strong, both physically and emotionally, and I couldn't imagine anything that could shake him. But when I read her words, something in my gut told me that this was serious. I immediately called her, my voice trembling. "Mom, what's going on? What happened?" "He had a heart attack," she said, her voice breaking. "They're taking him to the hospital now. I'm so scared, Emma." I felt the world tilt beneath me, like the ground had been ripped out from under my feet. I don't remember much of the drive to the hospital. It felt like I was in a haze, my mind racing, my heart pounding in my chest. I kept thinking, this can't be happening. This can't be real. When I got to the hospital, I saw my mom pacing in the waiting room, her face pale and stricken with worry. She rushed over to me and hugged me tightly, but I could tell she was barely holding it together. I asked her what had happened, and she told me that my dad had been feeling unwell for a few days, but hadn't said anything. He'd always been the kind of person who pushed through his discomfort, never wanting to worry anyone. But that night, he collapsed. By the time the paramedics arrived, he was unresponsive. They rushed him to the hospital, and all we could do was wait. The next few hours were a blur. The doctors didn't give us much information, and we were left in that painful state of uncertainty, not knowing whether he was going to make it. I kept telling myself, he'll be okay. He's strong. He always pulls through. But deep down, I knew this was different. This wasn't just a routine illness or a minor setback. This was life-threatening. Finally, the doctor came out to speak with us. He told us that my dad had survived the heart attack, but that his condition was critical. He would need to undergo surgery, and even then there were no guarantees. The weight of those words hit me harder than anything I had ever experienced. My dad wasn't invincible. He was human, just like the rest of us, and he could be taken from us at any moment. It was then that I realized just how fragile life really is, how everything you take for granted, your health, your family, your future, could be ripped away in an instant. But as I sat there in that hospital waiting room, watching my mom break down in front of me, something shifted inside of me. I knew that I had to be strong, not just for myself, but for her, and for my dad. I had to be the one to hold it together, to stay calm when everything around me was falling apart. I wasn't sure I could do it. I wasn't sure I had it in me to be the source of strength that everyone needed. But that's the thing about strength. It doesn't always look the way you expect it. 2. It doesn't always come in the form of confidence or bravado. Sometimes, strength comes in quiet moments of resilience, in the decision to keep going even when you feel like you can't. My dad made it through surgery, but his recovery was long and difficult. There were days when he wasn't sure if he would ever be able to return to his normal life, days when he felt hopeless and defeated. I remember sitting by his hospital bed, holding his hand, and telling him that he wasn't alone. I told him that we would get through this together, and even though I was terrified, I believed it. I had to. In those long weeks that followed, I learned what real strength looked like. It wasn't about pretending that everything was fine or pushing through without feeling. It wasn't about avoiding fear or vulnerability. Real strength was in showing up every day, even when you didn't know what tomorrow would bring. It was in being present, in offering support, in holding the people you love when they needed you the most. I watched my dad slowly regain his strength, not just physically, but emotionally as well. He learned how to ask for help, something he had never done before. And in doing so, he taught me something I will never forget, that true strength is not in doing everything on your own, but in knowing when to lean on others and allow them to be strong for you. Through this experience, I also realized that strength isn't something you can measure with accomplishments or achievements. It's not about how many obstacles you can overcome or how many challenges you can face without breaking. Strength is about staying true to yourself, facing your fears head on, and finding the courage to keep moving forward, even when everything feels uncertain. There were moments during my dad's recovery when I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. There were times when I wanted to break down, to give up, to let the weight of everything crush me. But I kept going. I kept showing up. And in doing so, I found a strength within myself that I never knew existed. It's been a few years since that time, and my dad is doing much better now. He's back to his old self, working in his garden, laughing with my mom, and doing all the things that make him who he is. And while I'm grateful for his recovery, I'm also grateful for what I learned during that time. Not just about him, but about myself. The day I found my real strength wasn't the day I was able to handle everything perfectly, or the day I became the person everyone expected me to be. It was the day I realized that strength isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about being vulnerable, asking for help, and knowing that you don't have to do everything alone. I learned that real strength isn't something you find in a moment of glory or triumph. It's something that's built over time, through the quiet moments of resilience, through the way we face life's challenges with grace and courage. And in the end, that's what makes us strong.